He himself has referred to his voice. His voice is nothing other than his own unconscious, into which the German people have projected their own selves. That is the unconscious of 78 million Germans. How did Adolf Hitler manage to seize power in Germany and exert such a mesmerizing influence over the entire nation, ultimately captivating the hearts and minds of a significant portion of the population, while simultaneously instigating a chain of events that would lead to one of the most tumultuous and devastating periods in modern history? To address this question, it's imperative to immerse oneself in the mindset of a German citizen during the pre-World War II period. According to the theories of Carl Jung, the German nation collectively suffered from an inferiority complex, deeply rooted in its historical experiences. The trauma of defeat in World War I played a pivotal role in shaping the collective psyche of the German nation, a concept that Jung referred to as the collective unconscious. In Jungian psychology, the collective unconscious is comprised of shared mental concepts that individuals within a given culture or society may not necessarily be consciously aware of. This collective unconscious is populated and governed by archetypes and instincts that influence human behavior and perception. The defeat in World War I, along with the harsh terms of Treaty of Versailles, inflicted a profound wound on the German national psyche. The terms of the treaty imposed significant territorial losses and economic burdens on Germany, leading to a profound sense of humiliation and economic hardship. The Weimar Republic, which emerged in the aftermath of the war, struggled to maintain stability, and the nation experienced hyperinflation and political unrest. The worldwide economic shock of the Great Depression in the early 1930s exacerbated Germany's economic woes, plunging the country into even less favorable position. Unemployment, poverty, and growing sense of humiliation stemming from the nation's post-war experiences contributed to a shifting collective psyche. This transformation manifested as an increasingly prevalent inferiority complex, which, according to Jung, had roots in the German nation even before the outbreak of either of two world wars. Adolf Hitler, a charismatic and persuasive figure, recognized the deep-seated insecurities and frustrations of the German population. He harnessed their collective unconscious, utilizing propaganda, mass rallies, and carefully crafted speeches to tap into the latent emotions and desires of the people. Hitler presented himself as a savior who could lead Germany out of its perceived state of inferiority and towards a renewed sense of national pride and strength. Through a combination of political maneuvering and strategic alliances, Hitler rose to power and, once in office, consolidated his authority. He skillfully manipulated the existing political structures, eliminated opposition, and established a totalitarian regime that further solidified his control. The propaganda machine, censorship, and the suppression of dissent created an environment in which alternative perspectives were silenced, further reinforcing the collective mesmerization of the nation. The Germans got their inferiority complex from comparable causes. They came up out of the Danube Valley too late and founded the beginnings of their nation long after French and English were well on their way to nationhood. They were too late for the scramble and for the foundation of empire. Then, when they did get together and made a unified nation, they looked around them and saw the British, the French, and others with rich colonies and all the equipment of grown-up nations, and they became jealous, resentful, like a younger brother whose older brothers have taken the lion's share of inheritance. In many ways, this inferiority complex set the stage for Germany's pursuit of territorial expansion, militarism, and aggressive foreign policies in the years leading up to World War I and beyond. It fueled a desire to establish a German colonial empire, project military might, and assert their national identity in a world dominated by other powers. Jung wrote an essay titled Wotan in 1936, in which he discussed the idea of Germanic god Wotan, also spelled Odin, and its relevance to the rise of Adolf Hitler and the Nazi movement. Jung's essay was primarily a psychological and cultural analysis, and it should be noted that Jung did not personally associate Hitler with Wotan, but rather he explored how archetypical symbols and myths could explain certain cultural and political phenomena. In his essay, Jung suggested the Germanic god Wotan represented a powerful and chaotic archetype in the collective unconscious of the German people. He argued that this archetype had resurfaced in the collective psyche of the German population during the early 20th century, particularly in the years leading up to the World War II. Jung believed that the collective unconscious could influence cultural and political movements, and he saw the resurgence of Wotan as a manifestation of the German people's deep-seated psychological turmoil. Jung did not directly associate Hitler with Wotan. Instead, he noted that figures like Hitler might embody or channel the energies associated with archetypical symbols like Wotan. Jung's perspective was more focused on understanding the psychological underpinnings of the time and how these archetypical forces could influence and shape the collective unconscious of a nation. The long quiescent Wotan should awake, like an extinct volcano, to new activity in a civilized country that had long been supposed to have outgrown the Middle Ages. We have seen him come to life in the German youth movement, and right at the beginning, the blood of several sheep was shed in honor of his resurrection. Armed with rucksack and loot, blonde youths, and sometimes girls as well, were to be seen as restless wanderers on every road from North Cape to Sicily, faithful votaries of a rowing god. Later, towards the end of Weimar Republic, the wandering role was taken over by the thousands of unemployed, who were to be met with everywhere on their aimless journeys. By 1933, they wandered no longer, but marched in their hundreds of thousands. The Hitler movement literally brought the whole of Germany to its feet, from 5-year-olds to veterans, and produced the spectacle of a nation migrating from one place to another. Wotan the Wanderer was on the move. Carl Jung faced accusations of being a Nazi sympathizer due to several pieces of evidence, one of them being Jung delineating distinctions between the Jewish and German psyches, aiming to illustrate the heritable elements of the collective unconscious. Since their defeat in the World War, the Germans have awaited a messiah, a savior, that is characteristic of people with an inferiority complex. The Jews got their inferiority complex from geographical and political factors. They lived in a part of the world which was a parade ground for conquerors from both sides. And after their return from their first exile to Babylon, when they were threatened with extinction by the Romans, they invented the solacing idea of a messiah who was going to bring all the Jews together into a nation once more and save them. However, his words were misinterpreted and distorted by the Nazis in the 1930s, who overlooked his main point, that the unconscious mind should be taken seriously, as it has the potential to drive the deaths of millions. Moreover, Jung was accused of compliance with the Nazi authorities, especially with Matthias Göring, the leader of organized psychotherapy in Germany, and the cousin of Hermann Göring. Göring attributed pro-Nazi statements to Jung without his knowledge, leading to Jung's dismay. Contrary to accusations, Jung was actively trying to ensure that German psychotherapy remained accessible to Jewish individuals. Furthermore, revelations have surfaced that Jung operated as a spy for the Office of Strategic Services, OSS, the predecessor to the CIA during World War II. Known as Agent 488, Jung made significant contributions to the Allied cause, a fact acknowledged by his handler, Alan V. Dulles, who remarked on Jung's substantial and clandestine assistance during the war. Nobody will probably ever know how much Professor Jung contributed to the Allied cause during the war, said Dulles after the war. These revelations challenge the oversimplified portrayal of Jung as a Nazi sympathizer, highlighting his actual efforts to resist the regime. His involvement in thwarted plots to remove Hitler by declaring him mentally unfit further underscores his opposition to the Nazi regime. Be free to share your opinion in the comments below. Also, consider becoming our patron. Your contribution to Patreon plays a pivotal role in sustaining and enhancing the quality of our content. It enables us to dedicate more time and resources to deliver engaging and meaningful content for you to enjoy. To join our Patreon community, simply click the link below in the description.